Hello, this is Patrick from XPression. I'd like to continue our XPression U series on crawl tutorials to show you how to use sequence groups, DataLinq, and rel ID to create a crawl. We're continuing a subject here, and we're working with data for COVID-19, which is a worldwide trending subject right now. What I'm doing here is I'm taking a template that I've used in the past, and you see me do this. I've had a topic and then the content that goes with the topic. I've basically taken that same design and I've repurposed it. So I built a new template here that I'm calling COVID-19 WW, and that's because I have 3 data sources, and the one I'm going to do this tutorial with is on worldwide statistics for the COVID-19 virus as they're spreading to different countries around the globe. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to match up the name of the country, the totals for the confirmed cases, the totals for the number of deaths that they've had due to the virus, and the number of cases that they've noted that patients have recovered from the virus. So I turned that first text field into a label. I created a new text field for the values, another text field for a label, another one for value, another label, another value. So what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to leave the labels alone, and we'll work out spacing here in a little bit, but I'm going to come across to this input field and start here first, just because I'm going to put the numbers where you can see them. I'm going to click data source. I'm going to go to DataLinq, and I'm going to open that up because I have my DataLinq option available to me, and I'm going to choose my data set in DataLinq from COVID-19 WW. And I'm going to choose that, and I'm going to browse for the content. And this particular DataLinq set is all about information worldwide by country, and it's ranked, or ordered, I should say, and ranking is not the best word, ordered by the number of confirmed cases in that particular country. So I'm looking at my first country here. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to find the number of confirmed cases, and I've clicked in it, and I'm going to click OK. And when I do that and I click OK, what you can notice, this field here is going to update. So I'm going to click on that. You can see the numbers just changed. I'm going to do the same thing here for the number of patients that have passed on. I'm going to, again, choose COVID-19 WW, and I'm going to go look for the stat for that particular country and find its deaths total and click on that. And I'm also going to do the same thing for recovered. I'm going to actually do a little trick here. I'm going to come back to that deaths total. I'm going to copy that data link. I'm going to come over to this next field, choose data link, and I'm going to paste. And that was all done by right click to get to that menu, by the way. I'm going to click set, and instead of being deaths, this is recovered. So now I need to find the recovered number in this particular setting, and here it is right here. And I'm going to click OK, and then OK, and I also should do my country name. So I'm going to again go to DataLinq. I'm going to cheat. I'm going to paste it by right-clicking, and I'm going to come into this, and I'm going to find the name of the country, which is China. Now, I can drive this data and automate a lot of this, and I'm going to do that because it's going to make sense to us in a little bit. What I want to do here is I'm going to come all the way up to the top. I'm going to topmost object in the object manager, which is the scene itself, and then I'm going to come all the way to the right in DataLinq keys. And I'm going to change the DataLinq key item to country. And I want to make sure I know how I spell it because it'll be important here in a little bit. And I'm going to change this number to 2 just to make sure that I see a change here. Now, next thing we do is I'm going to come up to the China text here, and I'm going to go to my data source. And I know that this needs to get filled in here, so I'm going to do a less than % country % greater than bracket, and then I'm also going to highlight that because I'm going to use that text more than once. And when I click OK, now it's changed to Italy because Italy is number 2. Now, next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come into the value for the confirmed cases, and I'm going to put that same information right after my column header. I'm going to do the same thing for the total of deaths. Put that in here. And what you're seeing is I now have this information somewhat automated. And this will be more important as I put this into the group sequencer. If I go to change my DataLinq key value here, if I change it to 1, for example, I get the China information. If I go to 10, I'll have the United Kingdom information. I'm going to set it back to 1 for right now. And we'll change this again later, and you're going to see where, and it's going to really be kind of fun. Putting all this together, next thing I want to do, and you saw that this kind of slid already because we were using some visual logic. I'm going to do this really quickly to show you one, and then I'll probably speed it up to show you the rest. What I've got here is I've got this quad, which is the red bar behind the word China. I've taken its X position, and I've taken the width of its bounding box as it's been scaled, and I've added it together. And I've also added an offset. That's where I take the positioning for that next text label, which is called confirmed. And I've taken confirmed, plus I've taken its width of the scaled text box. I've added it together. I'm adding an offset. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take the values, the numbers for confirmed cases. I'm going to take the X position. So I'm going to come down here to the position field, and I'm going to take X. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take the output of this offset box. I'm going to put it into the X position of confirmed. And what you see is this now just popped all the way over. So the next thing I want to do is figure out the width of this box, and then I'm going to make it match up so that depth is close to it, that label for that second piece here. So I'm going to go find this one real quick, and I should have stayed where I was just a second. I'm going to find the confirmed number. I want to find the bounding box width scaled and bring that down. I'm going to go over to my math section on the right side here, and I'm going to find the block of visual logic to add. And I'm going to use my position of X plus the width of my scaled bounding box and add that together. I'm also going to use an offset, and I'm going to put that into here. And then I'm going to go and close the confirmed number. I'm going to find the X position of the label for the second category and bring that in. I'm going to take the output of my offset mathematics and bring it to the input of the X position. And what you'll notice right now is it's kind of stuck together. I'm going to go back to the offset. I'm going to change that value from 0. I'm going to change it to 50 because I think that's a pretty good distance to keep there. By the way, the other thing I want to do is the base offset that I've got between confirmed and its value is 10. I'm going to set that to 15. So I've got that changed to 15. The label here is changed. Now the next thing I'm going to do again is I'm going to find the bounding box scaled for that label, put that in. I'm going to do my math to add it all up. I'm going to connect it. I'm going to not take the box, but take the connectors and put that together. And I'm going to find my offset, add that in. I'm going to put that into my output here. I'm going to minimize the label. I'm going to go find the category. I'm going to find the X position of that, and I'm going to take this and put it in. And the value that I had for an offset between the label and its values is 15. So now I've got that uniform. I'm going to remove my screen up here a little bit because I need to put the width of the bounding box scaled into my scene here. I'm going to do addition again, and I'm going to add that as the base, and I'm going to put the width of my bounding box. I'm going to add in an offset, and I'm going to put that over here, and then I'm going to go and find my third category label, which is recovered, and I'm going to find its X position. Based on the math above, I'm going to take the output of my offset and I'm going to connect it. And I'm going to scroll my screen up here so I can see the rest of this. My offset value, right now you can see it's kind of bumped together. Again, I made that 50 because I could. I'll move that across, and then I'm going to take the width scaled of my bounding box, put that together. I'm going to add it up, and I'm going to need an offset, so I'll put that in. And I'm going to scroll my screen so I can see all of it. And I'm going to take the position of my recovered label. I'm going to take its width and add that together. I'm going to connect it to an offset. And I'm going to set that offset now to be 15 units, 15 hundredths, 15.0. And I'm going to find my last value, which is, I'll move this over so you can see it, my recovery value, and I'm going to find its position of X. So I've done all this really rather quickly because it's something we can cover in another tutorial, but it helps to make this template work. And that's been moved over now, I think. No, it did not. Let me scroll this just a little more so I can actually see it. Okay, I'm going to take the output of my offset and I'm going to connect that to the input for my recovered value, and you can see that moved everything over. So now we're pretty much done with all the visual logic. And again, this is really pretty straightforward stuff, and you covered this in other tutorials. I just want to make sure that you saw it. But what I've got here is a template because the changes in the text that goes into it will change the width of the text objects, which moves things around. So what I've done is I've set it up so that I have 15 pixels between the semicolon and the label, and I've got 50 pixels between each value and the next category. And I've got 10 pixels between, or 15 pixels between the right edge of the label for the country and its holdback box. And I put all that together. So now you saw me go ahead and put together the DataLinq key, and I'm going to show you how I'm going to use this now, because this is really kind of interesting the way that this works. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to create a group. And when I put it in here, I'm going to change the number of it, and I'm going to make it 200. And I'm entering that in the alpha section, not the numeric keypad. Now, the reason why I've done this, I've named it as 200 because I'm going to put this template, the scene from the scene manager, and drag it in. What I want you to notice is it goes in as number 201. Now, country right now has a number value, and if I change it to 3, you'll notice in my preview window, I'm going to make this bigger so you can see it. So you see a bigger window. Now, if I change this to 2, it'll all change to Italy's statistics. If I change it to 5, it just happens to be Germany. I'm going to change it back to 1, and it goes back to China. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to erase the information, and we're going to go back to our old friend. You can see since I've taken out any reference, it doesn't know where to go. So all my fields have moved over, and they're blank. I'm going to right-click, insert macro, rel ID. And what rel ID is, it looks at the number of the take item, and it subtracts the number of the group that it's within to give me the item or number in my data pool set. So I've got this in here as number 1, basically, even though it's 200, it's item number 1. I'm going to right click. I'm going to choose duplicate from the contextual menu. And I want to do, let's say, the top 11 countries. So I'm going to click OK because I've got 10 in here by default. And what you're going to see, all of this right now is showing me this information. If I just click on each one, you'll see the data update itself automatically. And what you'll notice is these are all variable width, and some of them are going to go off the edge of the screen. We really don't care because this is all going to be information that's going to crawl across the bottom of the screen. So what I've got now is a group. So if I click on the group information, I'm going to do a couple of things. I'm going to change the name of the group. I'm going to call it COVID-19 WW because this is the worldwide statistics. I'm going to move over to playout mode and change it from manual to roll and crawl. I'm going to do a couple things here. First off, this is going to be a crawl, not a roll. So let me change that. And I'm also going to change the right side value to 50. And I'm going to show you how this works here in a second. And again, quick reminder, loop enabled. If I enable my loop, it'll continually roll across the screen, or crawl, I should say. If I leave the value set as 0, it'll continue on forever and ever and ever. If I change that value to a number, it'll run that many times. Blank start at blank page at start or blank page at end. I'm going to turn off blank page at end because I want this to continually go. I'm going to make this speed just crazy for right now so that you can actually see this go across the screen. And I've put all this together. Now the next trick for me to do is I'm going to select that take ID, which is 200, and I'm going to recall that to screen. You can see I've got a prompt telling me that it's waiting. Now look at the virtual output window on my laptop here, and you can see this information goes crawling across the screen, and you can see the gap between the last category and the country label shows up. This gives me the opportunity to see this, and again, I'm in a permanent loop here, so this will keep running forever and ever and ever. If I want to change the value of the loop or the duration, everything else that I've got here, this is how I would go after it, and this is how I would make this work. As you can see here, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to hit escape twice to make that stop. If I was to change this value from 50 to 100, and I start that crawl again, what you'll see is there'll be a bigger gap between the country and the last category. And I'm going to put this back to 50. And the interesting part for you to remember is the number of these scenes that I've added in here. Take out, again, the rel ID, in other words, the relative ID, take away the group value from the take ID value, and that will tell you what records you're working with. So right now I'm displaying the top 11 countries and their information, and I put this together using a sequence group. And I've done this instead of having to build individual items inside of a crawl group. It's just another way to do it. And this lets you put all these together, because one of the benefits of playing in here is I can put this together by speed. I can put it together by number of seconds. It's how I choose to play this back. This gives me a lot of control for it. It also gives me the flexibility to add or remove things without having to go back in and modify the entire scene group. And we're sharing the DataLinq sources for this, for the COVID-19 values for you, for customers that are trying to put this information on. And we gave you a quick tutorial on how to put all these pieces together so that you can share this vital information with your viewing audience.